Hello students and welcome to another ES for Business and Life video. Today we're going to be checking Unit 5. The unit name is Stress. Don't forget that you're going to covering Market Leader for you, pre-intermediate student. And today we'll be covering the grammar of the unit. Let's begin. Today we'll talk about the simple past. For example, we decided to change suppliers just 3 months ago. We decided to change suppliers just 3 months ago. Also, we'll be checking on present perfect. For example, we have been number 1 in sales for the last 3 months. We have been number 1 in sales for the last 3 months. Alright, some notes for the simple past that are important to remember. For example, we use it to complete actions in the past, to express a complete action in the past. Well, this may sound redundant, but later on you will see that there is a difference. Also, it expresses a definite past action. Oh, I maybe forgot to mention the word action. With definite, we're talking about we know exactly at what point it happened. And another and very important thing is that we use verbs in the past form. Also with auxiliary did. I may want to use another color because this is really important. Always use verbs in past and the auxiliary did for negative and questions. Negative and questions, we use did, and for the affirmative, we're going to be using the verb in its past form. Let's move on. Okay, so we have a timeline here, and we have an example. Let's imagine for the rest of the video that the end of the arrow is now. Yes? And everything that happens before that is the past. Yes, it can be like 1 minute ago, I don't know, 2 hours ago, etc. Let's get rid of that. Yeah. Alright, so now we have the example. We got great results from the strategy change. So, we're talking about a complete action. And we are also specifying when it happened. Yes, in the context right now, we're not exactly saying when. Yes, but we're talking about something that actually happened and it finished. So this happened at this point. We got great results from the strategy change. That action is finished. Right now, maybe the situation is different or similar or anything else. So as you can see, you will notice that the verb is in the past form, verb in past. Okay? Alright, we have more examples now. We have, you didn't attend all classes at training. You need to repeat the whole course. So in this case, we have negative. Something didn't happen. I didn't attend my training classes or all my training classes. Notice that when we have the auxiliary didn't, the verb is in present or in simple form. Yes. Why does this happen? Well, because in the presence of the auxiliary didn't, this doesn't have to be in the past form. So didn't expresses a negative, the verb is in simple form. Please remember this. And well, this action had consequences, and that consequence is that you need to repeat the whole course. It's necessary that you take the course one more time. Another example, we received an important message from our CEO last Friday. We received an important message from our CEO last Friday. Once again, well, this is an affirmative sentence, and we have the verb in past. We don't have didn't, so the verb has to be in its past form. And just a little note there, don't forget that CEO is a very common word in business, and that stands for Chief Executive Officer. Yes, or AKA the boss of bosses, right? The president. And also, we have another example. What did you do after work? What did you do after work? So, this is a question, and because it is a question, we need the auxiliary did. And since we have the auxiliary did, the verb is going to be in present form or in simple form, verb in present. This is a rule that you have to remember every time you express the simple past. Do not forget it. Alright, let's move on to the next item, which is present perfect. One important thing to mention here is that perfect means before. So if the word present means before, the translation would be present perfect would be before the present, or another form to express the past. We have some important notes here. Note number 1, it has two functions. Function 1, talk about the indefinite past, and option 2, an incomplete action, something that began in the past and is still happening at this moment. The second note is we use verbs in past participle. Verbs in past participle and the auxiliary has or have. This is also very, very important. Has or have. Let's see why. Now we have another timeline. Don't forget that this is now the present, and we are expressing the indefinite past. How? We say, example, I have watched Avengers 3 times. I have watched Avengers 3 times. We're not being specific. We're not being specific when we watched this movie in the past, but we're just mentioning that we saw it 3 times. Since we're not mentioning when exactly, the present perfect is required. Notice that you have your auxiliary and your verb form. Auxiliary have and the verb in its past participle form. More examples are like, I have been to SLP 2 times. I have never eaten sushi. Have you seen our HR manager this week? Let's go over these. Let's first check for an auxiliary. We have auxiliary have, auxiliary have, auxiliary have. Let's see, do we have a verb in past participle? We have been, eaten, and seen. Well, let me just label those so that it is easier for you to identify it. Verb in past participle, VPP. Don't forget, VPP stands for verb in past participle. Alright. So well, here the context is telling us why the present perfect is necessary. We're talking about 2 times. We're not being specific when it happened, so we say I have been to SLP 2 times. Here we're talking about a dish or type of food. In the past, we are not being specific when, so we ask, have you ever? Well, we're saying that we have never eaten it. And in number 3, have you seen our manager this week? This week, even though it looks definite, we're not being specific. We're not being specific whether it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. So it's indefinite. So we're going to need to ask it with have you seen. Don't also forget and notice that we make a change here. You have seen, question, have you seen? Let's move on to our next item. So the second function is an incomplete action. Once again, this is the present. So the example states, I have been the manager for 2 years. I have been the manager for 2 years. So we're looking at a period of time here. So we're talking about that at this point in the past, it's 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I started being the manager at this company. And I am still the manager now. So it's an incomplete action. So we have to say, I have been the manager for 2 years. Once again, you will see a verb in past participle as well as the auxiliary have. Let's move on now. We have the negative, a negative example. She hasn't had any problems since she got there or since she got here. Example number 2, he has been a lawyer for 10 years. Example number 3, how long have you been part of the company? I always try to give you an affirmative, a negative, and a question so that you see the differences. Do we have the auxiliary has, have in any form? We do. Hasn't in negative in this case. Has in this one. And have. Don't forget that depending on the person you are referring to, you may need to change between have or has. Do we have a verb in past participle? Yes, we do. We have had, been, and been. Verb in past participle or VPP to make things shorter. Check those lists of verbs. I know that they are long, but they are necessary. Finally, again, another reminder. Don't forget to switch between these two. You have you, and the question mark. Let's move on now. Alright, now in this case, for indefinite actions, we have two different words or expressions or time expressions. You may want to call them any way you want. For and since. They are commonly mistaken. We normally make mistakes with these, so it's very important that we know exactly what we use them for. For is used for a period or a number, or number of. We're talking about time here, so yeah, I can call it a period or a number. And since is for dates, such as 1999 or 1996, or events in the past. Events in the past, we're talking about an action in the past, simple past. Let's check it. Examples with periods. We use for example, 2 years ago. 2 years, 5 weeks, the last month, in the last 2 months, a long time. Also, since is for dates or events. 2001, since 2001, that's a date. I got married, that's an event in the past. I graduated, that's another event. And I can remember, another event. Not always does it have to be a verb in a sentence in the past. It can also be a sentence in the present. But then again, it's a reference for the past. Examples, I have been a good employee for 3 years. Since 2012, I have given this company my best. So we have for 2 years, that is a period, and we have since 2012, that is a date. Notice the differences here. I saw the files when we talked. I saw the files when we talked. So this is a complete action, and a complete action in the past. Complete action in the past with indefinite I mean, we're not explaining exactly when it happened. I have seen those files. They are on Arturo's desk. Sorry, I have seen them. Not exactly when am I saying it, but I have seen them. I have been a teacher for 7 years. 4, it's a period of time. I was a teacher at that school 5 years ago. So that is more exact. This is an incomplete action. Incomplete. And this one is complete. Yeah, 5 years ago, not anymore. Alright, so one tip before we go. Pronunciation is good as long as it doesn't affect communication. So it doesn't matter if you have an accent in English, but watch communication. Ask yourself, does the person understand what I am saying? If not, you have to check this because it is very, very important. Well, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next unit. Goodbye.